Right. So we're diving deep into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book like I think everybody knows.
Yeah, a lot of people have heard about it.
Yeah, it's been a financial Bible for some and like a controversial read for others, but like there's no denying this book, like it gets people talking about money.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to dive deep into it.
Awesome.
And, you have your own unique financial journey, but today we're going to be exploring Kiyosaki's.
Yeah.
And some of his experiences might just surprise you.
Definitely. Well, I mean, it all starts with his unusual upbringing, He essentially had two dads. He had his biological poor dad and his best friend's rich dad, and both of them were successful in their career.
Hello.
But had completely opposite views on wealth.
It's almost like a real-life social experiment playing out.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's crazy. And, I know you're probably thinking, come on, like, haven't we heard it all before? But the way Kiyosaki contrasts their philosophies is really striking.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. He even throws in these contrasting quotes, which, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
That was from his Poor Dad versus Rich Dad's counter,
Okay.
which was the lack of money is the root of all evil. So just right off the bat, you get these like polar opposite viewpoints.
Yeah, you can see where the conflict's going to come in. And imagine being a kid stuck between those two perspectives.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. But that's exactly this tension that fuels his journey.
Yeah.
He's forced to think critically about money, beyond the simple earn and spend cycle.
Okay, so here's where I think it gets really, really interesting.
Okay.
Kiyosaki argues that traditional education, often fails to equip us with real-world financial skills. He goes as far as saying, schools focus on scholastic and professional skills, but not on financial skills. Now, I'm curious, did you ever get any formal training in managing money? I certainly didn't.
I can't say that I did either.
Yeah.
I think we're in the same boat.
And it made me realize, like, how much we learn about history, science, even the Pythagorean theorem.
Right.
But hardly anything about managing our own finances.
Yeah, it's a huge gap. And Kiyosaki believes that's why even smart, successful people can struggle financially. They might be brilliant doctors or engineers or artists.
Right.
But without understanding the fundamentals of money, they're missing a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. And that ties into like this incredible anecdote in the book about how the two dads react to the phrase, I can't afford it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, that is such a classic example.
It is. It's like poor dad would just accept it as fact, while rich dad completely forbade those words. Instead, he'd insist on asking, how can I afford it?
It's such a simple shift, but it changes everything.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the limitations, you're forcing your brain to seek solutions.
Yeah.
It's like flipping a switch from defeated to determined.
Absolutely. Reframing the problem, looking at it as an opportunity for creative problem solving. You're activating your resourcefulness.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Like, have you ever found yourself saying, I can't afford it when you really want something? What if instead you ask yourself, how can I make this happen?
Right.
Right.
That is so powerful. It's like those inspiring stories, of entrepreneurs that started with nothing but an idea and a whole lot of hustle.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't let I can't afford it stand in their way. They found a way.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what Rich Dad is teaching Kiyosaki.
Right.
It's not just about money.
Right.
It's about developing a mindset that looks for solutions and possibilities.
Yeah. And speaking of mindsets, Kiyosaki really hammers home the idea that our thoughts shape our financial reality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember how Poor Dad kept saying, I'll never be rich?
Right.
It's heartbreaking because it became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. It's fascinating how our internal dialogue can impact our outcomes. And then on the flip side, like, Rich Dad consistently referred to himself as a rich man, even during financial setbacks.
Right.
Like, he believed in the power of positive self-talk to manifest his desired reality.
It's not just about working hard.
Yeah.
It's also about believing in your ability to achieve financial success.
Right.
It makes you wonder, what kind of self-talk do you engage in? Do you focus on lack or abundance?
It's a great question to ponder.
Right.
And it leads us to another core principle in the book.
Okay.
The difference between working for money and having money work for you.
Right.
Rich Dad was adamant about understanding the mechanics of money and making it work to your advantage rather than endlessly trading your time for a paycheck.
No.
He famously said, money comes and goes, but if you have the education about how money works, you gain power over it and can begin building wealth. Now, think about your current financial situation. Do you feel in control of your money, or is it controlling you?
That's so real. It's such a powerful concept. It's really making me think about my own financial goals. Like, am I actively seeking ways to make my money work harder for me? Or am I stuck in that paycheck to paycheck cycle?
It's a common struggle.
Which I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to.
For sure.
But, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it offers a different perspective. Kiyosaki actually outlines 6 main lessons about money in the book, which we'll delve into more later. But for now, I want to share this intriguing connection he makes to Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. I found this quite insightful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he includes these lines.
Okay.
It's 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Right.
Wow. That's such a powerful image. It perfectly captures, like, Kiyosaki's decision to follow Rich Dad's unconventional financial advice, even though it meant challenging everything his poor dad had taught him.
Yeah.
It took courage to forge his own path.
Exactly. And that's what makes the book so compelling. It encourages us to consider the roads less traveled in our own lives.
Yeah.
What choices have we made or could we make that might lead to a different financial destination?
Right.
It challenges us to step outside of our comfort zones.
Absolutely.
And explore new possibilities.
But before we move on, I have to ask about this one particular quote that really jumped out at me. When Rich Dad insists on asking, how can I afford it?
Yeah.
Instead of accepting limitations. Well, Kiyosaki takes it a step further, and he suggests we apply that same question to our financial goals and dreams.
Okay.
He challenges us to ask, how can I achieve financial freedom?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Okay.
It shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance.
Right.
Instead of dwelling on what we lack, we're empowered to pursue a life of choice and opportunity.
Exactly. And when we start asking how, our brains light up with possibility.
Totally.
It's like opening a door to a whole new world of financial empowerment.
It's about transitioning from a passive to an active approach to our finances. We're not just accepting the status quo, we're actively creating the future we desire.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I want to leave you with this question inspired by Rich Dad's advice. What would you do differently with your finances if you truly believed money worked for you?
Ooh.
It's a question worth pondering as we continue our exploration of Kiyosaki's financial journey. Welcome back to our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've been unpacking Kiyosaki's journey and how those contrasting philosophies from his 2 dads shaped his view of money. Now let's get into a concept that's central to the book, and it's one that honestly it kind of blew my mind when I first read it.
Okay.
The difference between assets and liability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a game changer. You see, most people think of their house as their biggest asset, but Rich Dad, he throws a curveball and says it's actually a liability.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
A liability. How can something you own, something that's supposedly increasing in value, be a liability?
Well, Rich Dad, he defines an asset as something that puts money in your pocket,
Okay.
while a liability takes money out.
Okay.
So a house you live in, even if it's appreciating, it's constantly draining your resources, mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance.
Right.
The list goes on and on.
Ah, okay. So it's not about what you own, but about how that ownership affects your cash flow.
Exactly. So if you're renting out your house and making a profit, then it could be considered an asset.
Okay.
But for most people, their primary residence is a liability, at least in the short term.
That's a huge shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And Rich Dad encourages building a portfolio of income-generating assets, right?
Yeah.
Things like stocks, bonds, rental properties, businesses.
Precisely. Instead of pouring all your money into a fancy house that, might look impressive but ties up your cash flow,
Right.
Rich Dad would say, invest in things that generate passive income. He wants you to think about building wealth, not just accumulating possessions.
Okay, so it's about becoming an investor, not just a consumer. But that takes financial literacy, doesn't it? You need to know how to spot a good investment and understand how different asset classes work.
Absolutely. That's why Rich Dad stresses the importance of financial education. He believes it's the key to breaking free from the rat race. It's like learning the rules of the game so you can play it strategically and win.
It makes me think about all those stories of people winning the lottery and then losing it all because they didn't know how to manage their newfound wealth.
Right, exactly. Financial literacy is essential, regardless of how much money you have. It's about making informed decisions, understanding risk, and building a solid foundation for long-term financial security.
And that's where Rich Dad's unconventional approach really shines. He's not afraid to challenge traditional financial norms and encourage people to think outside the box. He talks about using leverage to acquire assets, starting your own business, creating multiple streams of income.
He was all about making money while you sleep,
Right.
which is the essence of passive income. I mean, imagine having your money work for you, even when you're not actively trading your time for it.
Right.
That's true financial freedom.
I'm starting to see why this book resonates with so many people. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about building a sustainable system for long-term wealth creation. It's about taking control of your finances and designing a life where money is no longer a constant source of stress.
That's exactly it. And it requires a shift in mindset. You have to be willing to learn, challenge your assumptions, embrace new ways of thinking about money.
Okay, so we've talked about assets, liabilities, the importance of financial education. But there's another element that Kiyosaki emphasizes, and it's something that often holds people back from achieving their financial goals. Fear.
Oh, yeah. Fear is a powerful force, especially when it comes to money. We have fear of failure, fear of losing money, fear of making the wrong decisions. It can paralyze us, prevent us from taking action.
And Rich Dad doesn't sugarcoat it. He acknowledges that fear is real, but he also believes that it can be overcome. He encourages people to face their fears head on and to understand that failure is often a stepping stone to success.
He even suggests that some level of discomfort is necessary for growth. Stepping outside of your comfort zone is where the magic happens.
So it's not about eliminating fear altogether,
Right.
but about learning to manage it. It's about taking calculated risks, being willing to make mistakes, and understanding that every setback is an opportunity to learn and grow.
Exactly. And that's where having a strong financial foundation comes in. The more you know about money, the more confident you'll feel making decisions, even when faced with uncertainty.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Financial literacy, overcoming fear, taking action.
Yeah.
It's a powerful combination for creating lasting wealth.
Absolutely. And speaking of powerful forces, Kiyosaki also talks about the impact of our beliefs about money.
Right.
Our beliefs can either limit or empower us.
He brings up how his poor dad often said things like, money is the root of all evil, or I'm not interested in money.
Right.
Those beliefs essentially kept him trapped in a cycle of financial struggle.
It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. He believed those statements to be true, and as a result, he unconsciously sabotaged his own financial success.
But Rich Dad had a completely different perspective. He saw money as a tool, a source of power and freedom that could be used for good or bad.
Right. And that belief shaped his actions, leading him to create wealth and make a positive impact on the world.
It's incredible how our beliefs can influence our reality. It makes me think about my own beliefs about money. Are they supporting my financial goals, or are they holding me back?
It's a question worth asking ourselves. And
Right.
if we find that our beliefs are limiting, Kiyosaki suggests actively working to change them.
Right.
It's about replacing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations and empowering statements.
It's like upgrading your mental software.
Oh.
Out with the old limiting beliefs and in with a new abundance-minded operating system.
Exactly. And that's why Rich Dad emphasized surrounding yourself with successful people, learning from mentors, constantly expanding your financial knowledge.
Right.
Create an environment that supports your financial growth and challenges you to step outside of your comfort zone.
It's like building a support system for your financial journey.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about wealth building, but Kiyosaki also highlights the importance of giving back.
Right.
He believes that true wealth isn't just about accumulating money, but about using it to make a positive impact on the world.
He talks about how his rich dad was a generous philanthropist, supporting charities, giving back to his community. He believed that wealth came with a responsibility to make a difference.
It's about recognizing that money is a tool that can be used to create positive change, not just personal gain.
I love that perspective. It's not just about getting rich, it's about living a rich life,
Yeah.
one filled with purpose and impact.
Exactly. And speaking of impact, Kiyosaki also delves into some fascinating insights about the history of money and taxes.
He talks about how the concept of money has evolved over time. from bartering to gold coins to paper currency to digital assets.
And how taxes have played a role in shaping economies and influencing the distribution of wealth. He even touches on some controversial topics like the Federal Reserve, which is essentially the central banking system of the United States.
He doesn't shy away from encouraging readers to think critically about the financial systems we operate within.
Yeah.
So those who might not be familiar, the Federal Reserve plays a significant role in controlling the money supply and setting interest rates, which ultimately impacts inflation and economic growth.
It's like he's pulling back the curtain,
Right.
and giving us a peek behind the scenes of the financial world.
Right.
He wants us to be informed participants, not just passive bystanders.
And that's what makes Rich Dad, Poor Dad so thought-provoking. It encourages us to question conventional wisdom, to examine our own beliefs, and to take control of our financial destiny.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but a roadmap for building lasting wealth and living a life of purpose.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but before we move on to the final part, there's one more key takeaway I want to highlight: the importance of taking action.
Oh, yeah, totally. Kiyosaki emphasizes that knowledge without action is useless.
You can read all the books, attend all the seminars, but if you don't actually apply what you learn, it won't make a difference.
Yeah.
He urges readers to take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Start investing, build a business, or simply make a small change in their financial habits.
It's about turning those ideas into reality,
Right.
putting those principles into practice.
Because the path to financial freedom begins with a single step, no matter how small. All right, so welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've been, we've been exploring Kiyosaki's unconventional wisdom, from assets and liabilities to overcoming fear and challenging our beliefs. Now, I want to revisit a concept that's both intriguing and a little mind-boggling.
Okay.
The idea that the rich don't work for money.
It's a statement that definitely makes you pause and think.
Yeah.
If they're not working for money, what's driving them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But Kiyosaki argues that the rich are playing a different game altogether.
Yeah.
They're working to build and acquire assets, understanding that true wealth stems from owning things that generate income,
Right.
not just trading hours for a paycheck.
Yeah, they're focused on building that passive income stream we talked about earlier.
Right.
Creating a system where your money works for you even while you're enjoying your free time.
So instead of climbing the corporate ladder, they're building their own ladders to financial freedom. They're entrepreneurs, investors, creators who are constantly seeking opportunities to leverage their resources and make their money work harder.
And that requires a different kind of mindset.
Right.
They see opportunities where others see obstacles.
Right.
They're not afraid to take calculated risks, and they're committed to lifelong learning when it comes to financial matters.
It reminds me of that famous Warren Buffett quote, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder that financial freedom is about more than just earning a living. It's about designing a life where you're not tethered to a job just to survive.
It's about having choices.
Options.
Yeah.
And Kiyosaki doesn't just leave us with abstract concepts.
Right.
He provides concrete examples of how to build that financial freedom. He talks about real estate investing, building businesses, creating multiple streams of income.
Diversifying your income sources is key, creating a safety net. So you're not reliant on any single source.
So even if one investment takes a dip,
right.
you have others to cushion the fall.
Exactly.
It's like having a diversified portfolio of financial opportunities.
And he encourages readers to think outside the box,
Right.
Be creative and innovative in your approach to wealth creation.
Kiyosaki also challenges some of those traditional financial norms, like needing a college degree to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
He points out that many self-made millionaires forge their own paths without a formal education.
He argues that it's not about the degree,
right.
but about your financial IQ, understanding how money works and having the courage to put that knowledge into action.
It's about being a lifelong learner, adapting and evolving as the financial landscape changes.
Totally. And that's where having mentors and advisors can be invaluable.
Right.
Kiyosaki himself benefited from the guidance of his rich dad, who, taught him the ropes and supported him along the way.
it's a reminder that we don't have to figure it all out on our own.
Yeah.
There are people who have already achieved what we aspire to, and they can they can offer valuable insights and support.
For sure.
Now we've talked a lot about building wealth, but Kiyosaki doesn't stop there.
Right.
He also emphasizes the importance of giving back.
Yeah.
It's that idea that true wealth isn't just about accumulating money, but about using it to make a positive impact on the world.
He encourages us to think about our legacy,
Right.
not just our net worth.
How do we want to be remembered?
Yeah.
What kind of difference do we want to make in the world?
It's about aligning your financial goals with your values, using your resources to create something bigger than yourself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, take these principles to heart. Challenge yourself to think differently about money, to invest in your financial education, and most importantly, to take action.
Remember, it's not about how much money you make, but about what you do with it.
Right.
It's about building a life of purpose, meaning, and impact.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad may not have all the answers.
Yeah.
But it certainly sparks a powerful conversation about money, wealth, and the choices we make. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we hope it's inspired you to take control of your financial journey and create the future you desire.